Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chantel Lucier. I'm the President and Liaison Director for Reflexology Education for the Reflexology Association of California. And today I am very happy to introduce, although Bill Flocco needs no introduction. Bill Flocco is a world-renowned reflexologist, a visionary, a change agent, a legislative advocate, an organizational specialist. He is also the founder and director of the American Academy of Reflexology, and in the field of reflexology for over 45 years. As a master teacher, he has popularized classroom instruction with integration of foot, hand, and ear reflexology and related discoveries. And many European countries, Australia, New Zealand, China, Canada, and across the United States. So I feel very, very honored to get to know you, Bill. I've gotten to know you better during my current term as president of RAC and get to speak with you today. Bill has written many reflexology guidebooks and done reflexology research and has a book on integrated foot and ear reflexology. He has foot, hand, ear reflexology maps. And most recently, and what we're going to talk about today, he has a current book, an autobiography. So I would love to begin by saying hello, Bill, and what got you started in writing this autobiography?
Hello, Chantel.
Hello.
First of all, thank you to you and to the Reflexology Association of California and to all the wonderful people who are members of the association. How did I get into this, the craziness of writing an autobiography? I'd had a few people suggest it to me over the years, but it seemed, I don't know, I was too busy. It didn't seem like, why would somebody want just another autobiography? Then in a couple short time, don't know the exact amount of time, but very shortly after the pandemic started in 2000, uh, well, let's see, what was it? 2020, wasn't it?
Hmm.
I got a call from Christine Issel, and she asked that question. She says, Bill, what do you think about doing an autobiography? And I had to be silent for a moment because, I guess it's crossed many people's minds, but why? I asked her, well, why? I mean, I'm just another guy. She, she said, no, Bill, no, you're not. I said, oh, okay. She said, you've had to overcome so much stuff from childhood onward. And you, in spite of obstacles, you've done so much for the world through the field of reflexology, but in other careers as well. And some people might be interested in how you've gone about that and some of the results you got in your long-term vision, not only having a vision for the world, literally for the world, but many people have visions, but you've done some things to help actually implement what uh, mechanisms for helping those the visions to come to reality, if you will. So I think in a short way of saying, I think that's what got it started.
Yeah. It's really, I love you have such incredible humility. I love that you had to pause and consider when she goes, "Come on, Bill," and you had this like pregnant pause to think, "Why me?" Um,
And part of the challenge for me, you hear that airplane going overhead?
I have an airplane going overhead right now too. Is it you or me?
It's here.
It's for me too. I have one going. So it's you in Southern, me in Northern.
The challenge for me is that I was born with severe dyslexia and ADHD.
Yeah.
The writing has always been very hard, very awkward.
Hmm.
Spelling, grammar, punctuation. And that's where Christine Issel was extremely helpful through the process, let alone her editing guidance.
Yeah.
Uh, in addition to that, school, elementary school, I always felt like I was a dummy. high school, anguish, college, very challenging, very difficult. But as I think God or Mother Nature, however you choose to say that, had plans. I was thinking of going into medicine, but you have to be academically very astute and have a brilliant memory for that. And when I got into college, I realized very early on that I had difficulties with chemistry classes, with mathematics, advanced mathematics classes, and that wasn't going to work. And it seems like I was guided towards natural health and becoming a public health specialist and teaching classes. So I became a high school teacher. I received a rare uh, teaching credential in California called a lifetime high school and college teaching credential. So,
Wow.
so it was like Mother Nature somehow guided me, and I felt kind of guided without realizing it at first. I've actually felt guided through a lot of my life.
It's incredible. It's such a, as you're saying that, Bill, I'm just thinking about how much of a testimony it is to whatever that voice is that a child might have, that they're not smart enough, not whatever, pretty enough, intelligent enough, skinny enough, who can, right? Yeah. That it mustn't deter us from the greatness that can pour forth from anyone. And certainly we see it through your field. I mean, could it have stopped you? Have you always been able to move through, or has it? Yeah.
Well, for example, I for the credential that I got, it actually required 5 years of college.
Hmm.
And that fifth year, this was during the time of the Vietnam War. I could have been drafted, and I believe everybody should serve. But I knew that if they drafted me towards the end of the fourth year before the fifth year, if I had a break to go to the military during that time, that fifth year, I might not have come back because studies have always been so almost uncomfortable for me because of that history I've mentioned. And so went into the Medical Service Corps of the United States Army Reserves and eventually became a lieutenant, an officer, was in charge of training put in charge of training for a 500-bed general hospital. And so those were some of the early experiences that got me going. And simultaneously, I was doing three things. And when I started teaching, actually back to college, I actually started teaching in college my first year of being a student in college, which sounds strange.
Yeah.
And the way that happened was, I was in those days, anybody in college had to take 2 years of athletics as well. So
Hmm.
I was a swimmer. Uh, so I decided to take a job, not take a job, but when I signed up for the athletic class, I took a class of swimming. It was a very huge class. So I said to the coach, "Hey, coach, I'm a water safety instructor with the Red Cross. How about if I teach a class in life saving?" And then he said, "Yeah, take everybody." I said, "No, no, no." Because there were two pools. So I took the deep end pool, and about 20 of the guys, men and women in class, wanted to take the life saving class. So actually, my first year of college, I was actually teaching a college level course in swimming. And so simultaneously, three things were happening eventually. Going through college, I was an aquatic specialist, managed swimming pools and taught scuba diving, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, when I got out of college, I continued with the aquatics, was in the Medical Service Corps of the United States Army Reserves,
Mhm.
and was also teaching high school for 6 years.
Mhm.
And what did I teach in high school? Health education, family health, and human anatomy, nutrition, amphetamine, dangerous substances,
Mhm.
many of these related subjects. So like the first 6, 12 years of my life, I was immersed in different types of education. Actually, one time, after a couple, 3 years, I was quite honored when the Los Angeles Unified School District person in charge of all the education for 54 schools,
Hmm.
came to me and said, Bill, how would you like to do pilot work on creating an entire new course for the high schools? So I did. I was giving, without going into details. So I had a phenomenal experience in curriculum development,
Yeah.
and that eventually was put into 54 high schools across Los Angeles. So let's say before I got into reflexology, I had a lot of experiences there. And
Yeah.
then I had another job which prepared me for being a reflexologist, but
Yeah.
had nothing to do with reflexology.
Yeah.
I became executive director for teacher unions affiliated with the National Education Association.
Hmm.
What that meant was, like in Indiana, where I went for 2 years, for 4 years, I was working, actually later full-time working for 10 teacher organizations in central Indiana to help them bring in a collective bargaining law, which gave me a lot of experience with working with legislature doing lobbying to bring in this law, a lot of political action, dealing with the media, all of these things that helped me prepare me for reflexology.
Yeah.
And also running campaigns, jurisdictional elections, having to write thick documents, mediation and fact-finding documents, 250-page documents.
Yeah.
And so all of this prepared me, and I had no idea. And eventually, what happened is
Mhm.
I burned out.
Yeah.
And I burned out so severely that I couldn't work for 2 years. And there's not a lazy bone in my body.
How old were you then?
I was 40 years
40.
old.
Yeah.
And the safest place for about a year was, it felt like, was on the floor in the corner with my back against the walls. It was
Yeah.
just so, and it finally, eventually, I found a medical doctor, was able to find out what the problem was. And it took a long time to rebuild. Fortunately, he did it naturally without medications,
Yeah.
because I never knew if I would be able to support myself again because I went through all my life savings.
Yes.
And I had lost a lot of my mental functions.
Yeah.
And one day I saw something in a local newspaper. That was the first time the paper came out, just by chance, if things happen by chance.
Mm.
It was about a class in foot reflexology.
Yeah.
And I said, what's foot reflexology? And it said, you work on somebody's feet in a certain way, people feel better. Well, I didn't remember this until a couple years later, but the first 6 years, 10 years of my life, my mother went through about 6 surgeries.
Hmm.
And they were mostly abdominal surgeries. And she would once in a while say, Billy, would you rub the bottoms of my feet? I said, sure, mommy. So I worked on her feet and she
Yeah.
would feel better. So where did your first question was, how did I get into this? And I'm wondering,
Mhm.
was stuff being planned back then? Were the forces of nature saying, hey, let's hook them now?
Yeah.
So then I got into teaching, oh,
Mm.
strange occurrences. So it was a 2-day class. One of the teachers was the worst teacher I've ever seen. She had some of the tears. But the other teacher was one of the best teachers I've ever had. It was actually interesting. But they were both very passionate about
Yeah.
reflexology. And the main teacher, the gentleman, was really an excellent teacher. The class was half about reflexology, and a lot of it was about nutrition and
Mm.
homeopathy and stuff.
Yep.
Anyhow, they learned it, of course, my education history. And after I finished the class, they said, Bill, we know you're not certified yet, but we've overbooked ourselves. Listen to this. And they had a 4-night class, for one night for 4 night
Mm.
weeks, one night for 4 weeks in California State University, Northridge. This
Yeah.
is a big university. And I said, okay, I'll cover it for you. I went, and of course, I studied a lot, went and taught the class. And then I have a lot of test anxiety. How many of us know people with test anxiety?
Yeah.
So I put it off about 3 months. Then finally I went to take the test. And the night before, she says, Bill, I've lost the test. You don't come in. Let's postpone it. I said, oh, no, 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 I can't stand this anymore.
Yeah.
And so that night, I wrote out a 100-question test on reflexology.
Yeah.
And I answered it. Of
Yeah.
course, I got 100%. I wrote
Yeah.
it. And then I took it into her the next day and I gave it to her. And she dumbfounded.
Yeah.
And she had written about 20 to 30 questions. I answered her questions, worked on her, did a foot routine on her, and
Yeah.
got certified. So it's like, once again, there's this who gets to teach a class before being certified, who
Yeah.
gets to write their own test before being certified. You know, does nature giving me a message here or something?
Yeah.
And I was skeptical. I mean, I knew people got benefits because I practiced on a few people.
Hmm.
My first client had a stiff neck,
Yeah.
and I learned a very important lesson that people sometimes want to do homework. Some people, if you ask them, they don't, but she did. So I gave her homework to show work on her big toe, which is where most people work on the feet for relief of neck discomforts,
Yeah.
stiff neck. And I worked on her once. She said she'd like to do homework, so I gave her plenty of homework to do. Suggested she work on herself twice a day.
Mhm.
She came back as my client the next week. This was my very first client. And she had worked on herself. We did same thing for another week. By the end of the second or third week, she had regained complete motion of her neck. But a lot of people do reflexology and it helps. But a lot of people don't do anything and that gets better on its own.
Yes.
So I, right from the beginning, was a skeptic.
Mm.
Could it have gotten better on its own, or was it reflexology?
Right.
But there's a couple of facts that I haven't told you. One, her neck was so stiff that she had to turn like this to see.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Number one. Number two, she had been that way not for 12 days, not for 12 weeks, not for 12 months. She had been that way for 12 years.
Yeah.
Did that get my attention? Yes.
Hmm.
Was I a skeptic? Yes. Without going into details, I had known a lot of powerful situations in my life and a lot of satisfactions and achievements,
Yeah.
but I had never known that personal satisfaction. And to this point, time, all these years later, 45 years later, it still almost brings tears to my eyes. So
Yeah.
does it become a good feeling junkie?
Yeah.
So then I began to start teaching reflexology. It was a natural for me with my history and building my clientele.
Hmm.
And I worked on feet for the first few months or so. It's the only thing I knew. But right away, I started to look into hand reflexology. And right away, interesting things happened. Those doctors that I had been going through during those 2 years of severe illness, they had a big chart in their offices of an ear, big wall chart. And it had a map of the body on it. And I started to think, if you call working on the map of the body on the foot, you call that foot reflexology. When you use touch on the hands, working on the map of the body on the hands, we call it hand reflexology. Why not call what the work we do on the map of the body on the ears, ear reflexology?
Hmm.
So I coined the term ear reflexology. The medical approach of working with the ears is called auriculotherapy,
That's
where they
right.
can use needles, electrical stimulation, seeds, all kinds of things. But with touch, because reflexologists legally almost only use legally in most places in the country and the world licensed to use their touch.
Yeah.
And I started to do this with my clients. I'd say, I've learned something new. Let's add it. And I added the hands to their sessions. And then I said, let's start adding the ears. I added the ears to the sessions. So within about 6 months to a year, I was doing foot, hand, and ear reflexology. And I began to notice some things. And remember, for the first year, I was a skeptic. In
Hmm.
fact, I such a skeptic that every single person I worked on for the first year on which I did any kind of reflexology, I said this, ask them if you had had reflexology for an hour versus a rested for an hour,
Mm.
which one's more relaxing? And let's assume a few people give you the answer they think you want to hear, but
Right.
not everybody.
Yeah.
Every single person that year. So maybe it was time for Bill to stop being such a skeptic. Start, start saying, "Hey, there's this powerful stuff."
Yeah.
The next thing is sometimes people seem to be getting better quicker or more consistently from the hands, and sometimes people start to get better more quickly and more consistently from the ears. It's like I worked on one lady who had just come from a very awkward situation where she was feeling a lot of hyperacidity. And I worked on her, didn't have, it was a situation, wasn't as a client, I worked on her hands because it didn't work, there wasn't time to work on her feet.
Mm.
And within a couple of minutes, she started to experience relief. And I said, is it possible if the hands are as good or better than the feet on certain things?
Mm.
And over the next several years, I truly questioned this body of knowledge, but I began to teach my students this body of knowledge. And I said, if you find anything that you disagree with, let me know.
Yeah.
And gradually over the next 7 to 8 years, a whole new body of knowledge was emerging
Mm.
as to when the feet might be better, as to when the hands might be more effective, when
Mm.
the ears might be more consistently more beneficial.
Yeah.
And so and from the beginning, I was then, or from quite early on, by the end of 1981, I was just teaching integrated foot and ear reflexology.
Yes.
And from there, then it was just a process of learning more and more and more of this. I kept on questioning new insights, and eventually an entire body of knowledge came up as not only which one was better, but if one is better for, let's say somebody has dental pain,
Mm-hmm.
is it possible that the feet or hands or ears are better,
Mm-hmm.
and another one is second good, and the other one is third good?
Right.
And what emerged through those first 9 to 10 years is what we call priority reflexing and
Yeah.
progression reflexing. In other words, there's no question that working all three, the feet, hands, and ears, during each session is better.
Yeah.
But then from there, when there's pain, the order doesn't matter much if there's no pain.
Yeah.
Just the results will be better with all three.
Yeah.
But when there is pain, it absolutely matters. Imagine that you or yourself or had a dear friend was in severe pain.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we want to know which of the three is going to give the most consistent, quickest relief?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the top priority.
Yeah.
And remember, I started with all three feet, hands, and ears so early on that I didn't have a preference.
Yeah.
My preference became, what does the client need?
Yeah.
What's the client need? If they're in pain, if it's dental pain, well, we're going to go to the feet first, the hands second, and the ears third.
Mm-hmm.
If it's neck or lower back pain, we're going to go to the ears first, hands second, ears third.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm sorry. No, ears first.
Yeah.
Ears first, feet
Yes.
second, hands third.
Yeah.
Somebody's got headaches, hands are light, ears better.
Yeah.
And so this has been formalized now in our training for many years through our vocational training program. And also we have a secondary type of training that we've evolved that teaches self-help also.
Yeah. Where was this in the trajectory of? I mean, I remember very early on in my reflexology training, we received a copy of um, the research you had done on PMS and the integrative work that was done there. And that also, I think, it's been a while since I've looked at that report, but that also has an order to it. Where was that? How long had you been practicing reflexology before you did that study?
Remember back in the earlier times with reflexology, I was studying, found, without going into details, I learned a little bit about the ears.
Yeah.
And then there's this group that used to travel the country teaching only medical type licensed practitioners. I applied for a class. This was shortly after I was still coming out of that severe illness. So I didn't have much, I'd gone through my life savings.
Yeah.
And what happened was they were going to come into Los Angeles for a Tuesday evening class,
Hmm.
and then there would be the follow-up, the actual class on Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
I didn't have the money to pay for the weekend, so I just paid for the Tuesday class. Well, they called up and they said, well, Bill, Mr. Flocco, we're not, so apologize, but we're not coming in. And my heart sank. And he said, however, if you'd like to come this weekend at no additional charge, be our guest. Going, once again,
Yeah.
I went, and the teacher was Dr. Terry Olison,
Yeah.
PhD, leading researcher in the field of auriculotherapy, which is the medical approach of working with the outer ear.
Yeah.
And so I took this class with him. I forgot exactly when it was, but it had to have been in the early to mid 1980s.
80s. Yeah. Yeah.
Towards the end of that time, he became more and more aware of the work that I was doing, and how I was doing this. And we, uh, during that during that particular class, Dr. Olson and I, or Terry and I, the head of the hospital, who was a medical doctor, of course,
Yeah.
and one other medical doctor, we had somehow, how does this happen? We end up with lunch. Here I'm a layperson with no medical background. I know
Uh-huh.
about health, but not medical. And they all were ending up saying, reflexology should be a very important part of the lobby of the diagnostic process.
Yeah.
Well, Terry and I stayed in touch. And then towards the end of the 1980s, we decided, let's do some research. To this day, we don't remember who first recommended it.
Yeah.
And we picked at first headaches, but it was trouble finding people who wanted to be in the study.
Yeah.
So we put together a very serious approach, put a research program together for premenstrual symptoms. And there are a lot of women suffering from PMS.
Yes.
So we advertised for the study. I won't go into a lot of details because it's a whole subject unto itself. But we conducted a 6-month study.
Yeah.
And thank you for remembering this study.
Mhm.
It was a control study. So we had the controls were one group that was not going to have any reflexology for 6 months. They get it afterwards, but not part of the study. Only we needed to know what was standard for everybody without reflexology.
Yeah.
Then so it's called the waiting list group. Then we had an active group, which we received the real reflexology for PMS types of relief. And we had a third group that had fake reflexology. So in other words, we did reflexology on them that had terrible technique and reflexes parts of the feet, hands, and ears that we thought would have no benefit, or as minimal as possible.
Mhm.
And again, for the first 2 months, people received reflexology once a week for 2 months. So they got 8 sessions. They did, they kept the records for 2 months before, during, and after. There's a Likert scale, and they had 30 different symptoms to follow, 15 psychological and 15 physical. So in other words, every day for 6 months, they kept records of these 30 different points.
Mm.
It's called the Likert scale.
Yeah.
So we studied 3 months without reflexology, 2 months without reflexology, 2 months with reflexology, and 2 months afterwards with no reflexology to see how well it would go.
Hmm.
And the results were staggering.
Yes.
And anybody who's interested, go to my website or just look up PMS by Dr. Terry Olson and Bill Flocco.
And I think it was in the 90s, right? That it was
Uh,
published first, right?
1993, yeah, I finished in
93.
91. It took the whole process for it to get published. And it was published in a scientific medical journal.
Hmm.
It's not in yeah, also in reflexology publications, but
Yeah.
this was a very peer-reviewed medical journal.
Yeah, very important for the field of reflexology.
And it was not only the first reflexology controlled study ever published in scientific medical literature, it
Yeah.
was the first one to be done about foot, hand, and ear reflexology.
Yeah. But it's so great. I just a quick little aside. One of the reasons I decided to become a reflexologist is because in receiving reflexology, my PMS symptoms dissipated significantly, as well as some hip pain, and it was so stunning to me. You kind of can't ignore something like that, which yeah. So it's really. I wanted to bring up something you said earlier, the word guided, that you've felt guided. And I was struck by, as you talk, I can really sense that. People coming in and saying, "Hey, would you teach this? Would you do that?" Like, absolutely, what's moving through people and asking you is propelling you in some direction. And also, I'm struck by the fact that also you'll say the thing, like you'll be like, "Hey, I know how to swim and I can instruct. Can I do the thing?" So there's this kind of incredible balance I'm noticing as you talk, that like people are guiding you, but then you're also really a person of action. There seems to be this incredible kind of combination leading you towards what you give to the world.
And that's what I think Chris was alluding to when she said, asked me about doing this autobiography. Because what
Yeah,
I'm saying here is a lot of this is in the book, but it fleshes it in a great deal and maybe
yeah,
a lot of anecdotes. And part of, from the very beginning, when I first started teaching reflexology, I always wanted to do something that would help the public, if you will, to
yeah,
give back to the world, if you will. So
yeah.
I used to do a lot of presentations and a lot of workshops on self-help reflexology.
Hmm.
And then one time when I was teaching in Switzerland, going around, I like to go around lakes and ocean things and
Mm,
stuff like that. I was going through the Lake Geneva in a boat, and an image came to me of eventually having one place in each major continent of the world where there could be a facility where people could come for 3, 4, 5 weeks,
yeah,
could stay, could billet there, could have food, could be food, but mainly to teach them how to teach self-help reflexology,
yeah.
to take it back to their countries, to their local villages.
Hmm.
And we started working towards that
Yeah.
in 2007. We got together with a group of reflexologists and we started what was called the World Reflexology Foundation.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure how to do it. What we wanted to do, we just know we wanted the world to be a healthier place.
Yeah.
And actually, it sounds simple, but that became our mission. How can we make the world a healthier place through reflexology, self-help reflexology, or family help? But what happened was this. This was before the pandemic started, and we began to do training programs to teach people how to teach self-help. And we had trained about 50 people. And then the pandemic hit,
Hmm.
and we couldn't do in-person training anymore. So we went to the gift of what we have right now, Zoom,
Yes.
and we learned how to do that gradually. We've conducted quite a few workshops online. People are coming in from more and more countries, these live online workshops.
Nice.
But we didn't want to stop there.
Yeah.
First of all, it's not the board of directors. Yes, it is, but it's also our volunteer. Remember those volunteer trainers?
Yeah.
Well, they then now become our trainers on these workshops. And They're very simple. Let's take it's like about neck or upset stomach, sinus issues, allergies, things like that. One workshop, maybe for half an hour to an hour on that one subject, but where to go first, second, and third. It shows where to work and how to work on the feet, the hands, and the ears, or the ears, hands, and feet, whatever the proper order is in priority and progression. And so what's happened from that is we then started to say, well, some people want to see these videos. Well, we didn't intend to do that initially. Said, okay, none of us are paid. This is all volunteer work.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we then started to have friends who would edit the videos for us and
Hmm.
put those up online. They're on our workshop, on our website, worldreflexologyfoundation.org, and also on our YouTube channel. And then we said, well, some people like to read things and have copies of articles that they could share with their friends. So then we started to write brief articles about each of the workshops. Not only what's the issue, again, maybe allergies or stomach or neck, and shows pictures of where to work and how to work. And then those are put up on our website. That's all available there. And I think, as you might know, we now are starting to have translations of all of our articles into different languages.
Yeah.
So we have about 4 or 5 languages there now, and we're just beginning. And
Oh,
and that's number one. Number two, the
yeah.
more long-term project, and of course this is going to take long-term,
Mhm.
is to then do voiceover work in all of the videos in all the major languages of the world.
Beautiful.
So our mission is for free for people to come any place in the world.
Yeah.
You know, it's estimated that about 6 million people,
Mm.
6 billion people on Earth have cell phone access,
Oh,
internet
wow.
access.
Wow.
And if we could have reached 6 billion people on Earth with internet access,
Yeah.
then they can reach the rest of the world, their children, their family, their friends.
Yeah.
We don't teach vocational, we teach self-help.
Yes.
Every state and every country, every province has different laws regarding professional, vocational reflexology.
Yeah.
That's not ours. That's for
Yeah.
people who are licensed in their states to teach or in their countries. They've been well trained at teaching vocational, which is very different.
Yeah.
And so at our fingertips, literally, we have the map of the body on the hands. We have the map of the body on the ears.
Yeah.
We have the map of the body on the feet. But a lot of people know is on the side of the brain,
Hmm.
cerebral cortex. There's two maps of the body called homunculi.
Hmm. Yeah.
People don't believe on it. Just do a Google search on the cerebral cortex homunculi.
Yeah.
Homunculus means little man.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting. There's images, in other words, the largest part of the image of the human body on the side of the brain is the feet are distorted large,
Yeah.
hands are distorted large,
Yeah.
and the ears are distorted large.
And the mouth. Mwah,
Yes, that's true too.
mwah. Yeah.
And so anybody who has any pains or aches,
Yeah.
go to these. They should see their doctors if they have problems, of course, if they think
Yeah.
that's necessary. But also, we say like self-help a lot. What about self-care? Self-care is prevention. What if we have a tendency to have headaches, but if we work on ourselves occasionally, we prevent the headaches from happening by knowing where to go on the feet, hands, and ears,
Yes.
and so forth. For let's say somebody has repeated sciatic pain.
Hmm.
If that's the case, but it's not bothering you now, what about this is the best time on earth to work on it? So you
Absolutely.
have self-care prevention.
Yeah.
So if we can reduce the stress in the body,
Yeah.
it gives the body the chance to heal itself. And
Yeah.
that's all we do with reflexology. It's so simple and then eventually and it's growing so rapidly around the world.
Yeah.
So thank God for reflexology, the gift of it.
Yeah.
And you said, why did I start this autobiography?
Hmm.
Because I was asked to, number one, but number two,
Yeah.
it's it's a gift to the world to be able to share this information. And I feel so blessed to have
Mm,
been given the responsibility and going back to the legislative and the legal aspects and
yeah,
being an organizational specialist
yeah,
and all of that. That's a different part of reflexology that I've been, when called upon,
yeah,
was able to help with legislation, was able to help with building organization, was able to help to build strong, make stronger organizations, not only here in the United States, but as
mm,
I've traveled around the world.
yeah,
And and so my gift to the world is have strong reflexology organizations, have strong training for yourself
yeah.
as a professional reflexologist, invite people to the World Reflexology Foundation
Mhm.
website for self-help. Send your clients there for self-help.
Yes,
Again, we don't charge for it, but if you'd like to make donations, again, we don't use that money for ourselves. It's for we
yeah,
put it right back into the programs.
yeah.
And again, I applaud you
Mm,
and the Reflexology Association of California, and it's truly my belief that you guys do a phenomenal job, is that every reflexologist in California should be a member. So
mm.
that's my gift to you additionally.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm really, thank you so much, Bill. I also, you said, you were talking about to create health for the world through reflexology, and I've been able to be on these calls before with the World Reflexology Foundation, and one way that I feel that is also embodied in the structure of how you do it. The fact that there's not one person leading the show. It's like it starts with one person, right, doing the feet, and then you pass it on to somebody else, and there's another instructor going, okay, and here's the foot, and here's an ear, and this is where you press. Come on, everybody, and everybody starts doing it. And that kind of collective endeavor is so heartfelt, and I believe that's how we create health and that's how we create love in the world, is to have that kind of trust in a community, and you really do that incredibly. It's a
Thank you.
really meaningful thing. Yeah.
If anybody would like to know more about the things we've shared,
Yeah.
if they could get a copy of my book either at my website, American Academy of
Others.
Reflexology.
I
Oh,
just got it. I just got it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if I told you. I literally just got it. Um, Yeah, I'm going to put Bill below this video. I'm going to put a couple links so people can easily go to these different places, including a link to get this book. And I want to point out something. And I haven't had a chance to read the whole thing yet, but I started to. And I wanted to just read something really quick. What I really love about, oh gosh, where are my glasses? One second. Where do you start the acknowledgement? The acknowledgements begin, if I may read your words. No, I could cry. No one gets through this life alone. As I reflect on my own journey, I attribute much of my success to the dedicated individuals who have stood by me through thick and thin and helped me to grow and meet challenges along my journey. I am also grateful for the challenges and blessings along my life's journey. They all add to and make me who I am as a person, and the unique contributions I make in the world for the betterment of humankind. And then you go on in the introduction to talking about, like, as I reflect on your life, and what I and then you go on to speak about certain things, but then within the chapters, what I also really love, I'm a big fan of like quotes or pointing things out or having things illuminated. And certainly, as you bring up Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. I like that within the body, I don't know if people can see it, within each chapter, there are these indentations where you are speaking about a certain aspect or portion of your childhood or your life. And then there's this little sidebar that says upon reflection, and you speak a little bit too, like in reflection to this past life, this experience that I've had, and it's just very touching. I'm really looking forward to looking into it. This is the beautiful book. If everybody can see it.
Reflections Along My Life's Journey. And
Yeah,
it's also available on Amazon.
yeah.
Chantel, thank you for the privilege.
Thank you for the privilege. Thank you so much, Bill. I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
my love to everybody.
And our love back to you.